Okay, we're rolling now. Thank you, Shane, for taking the time to do this
Thanks.
video interview. Um, Let me start by asking you who was, or do you have an influence anybody who influenced you to get into being an artist, or a favorite character that inspired you?
Uh, I was always a big fan of Art Adams and Travis Charest. Those are two big artists that were big influences for me. Joe Quesada, was a big art influence for me. Also, characters. I liked a lot of different characters growing up as a kid. I wasn't particular to any one, so as long as it was a good comic, I was a very big fan of it. So, yeah, that was I pretty much read a lot of DC and Marvel and a lot of books like that.
Uh, when you did Superman Earth 1 Volumes 1 and 2, of course, which Earth 1 Volume 1 was a bestseller on New York Times list, am I
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Uh, how were you approached in getting that job, or whatever you would call it?
Uh, Dan Didio had asked me to do the book, and at first I thought it was going to be a normal book, and we were going to go forward with it. And then he called me up one day, and there was a change, and they wanted to do it as an original graphic novel. And that, I was like, well, okay, I guess. Like, to me, it was going to be the same. Uh, but it probably affected the way we did this story a lot differently because it wasn't broken up into single issues. So, um, I really didn't think much of it at the time. I think a Brian K. Vaughan book, Pride of Baghdad, had just came out as original graphic novel, and it sold really well. So I really didn't think positive or negative. I just was mutual about it, and I just jumped on it and got to it, and really didn't think about it too much as I was drawing it. I really didn't watch a lot of Superman stuff or the animated series when I was drawing it because I knew what they were asking me to do was to kind of do a unique take on the origin and the character. So I really didn't watch any of the movies or cartoons or movies the whole time I was working on that project.
Uh, Having seen the movies, and I'm sure you've seen them before you started working on
Yeah, yeah.
Earth One, uh, did you ever have a favorite version that way, or was it all the same to you?
No, no, well, I like the original Christopher Reeves version, the first movie. As a child, that was like one of my favorite ones. I like the animated series, the Bruce Timm animated series a lot. Those were probably my favorite incarnations. I think I remember watching some of the Superboy TV show when I was a kid, but I wasn't really big into it. And I remember, I think, watching a little bit of Smallville, but I really never got into Smallville as much. I just didn't do anything for me. So I mean, there were certain things that had been done with Superman I was a really big fan of, and some things I just I kind of appreciated, but it didn't really take with me. So
Okay. Um, I guess this would be a what if question for you coming out. Would you be willing to have your Earth One story that you did the artwork for turned into a future DC animated film? Would you like to see it done as one?
I would like to see it, but I don't know if like my drawing style actually lends itself to that animation style. I mean, it may be kind of interesting to see it done as an animated feature. I would definitely be interested in seeing that happen. I mean, it's always interesting to see whether it's stuff being sculpted, a toy or a statue, or see my stuff handled in different mediums. So it would definitely be an interesting venture to see.
Be an interesting spin on your technique that way.
Yeah, yeah. Because a lot of that stuff, I draw it as a comic artist. I don't really draw it as a motion you know. So I switch camera angles up a lot, and it'd be kind of interesting to see if it was a real translation of the book, like those shots turn into animated shots, you know. So.
And how about things like seeing your artwork, say, on a T-shirt or something like that, or
You
a
know,
poster or something?
I still, well, I mean, outside of the Earth One, I walked into Walmart the other day and picked up and saw a Batman T-shirt of some artwork I drew like 8 years ago. It's weird. I've seen a lot of my artwork done on T-shirts and stuff. Not so much Superman, but Batman and some other stuff. So it's interesting when you see those things. Sometimes you don't even, you just somebody walk past you with it on at, you know, a gym or grocery store or something like that. So it's kind of interesting to see that stuff.
Cool. Are there any future projects that you could let us know that you're working on, or is it all hush hush? Or
There's nothing that's been announced. Yeah, I am working on another project that we haven't announced yet. It's a science fiction project, and been doing a fair amount of cover work for a lot of different books. So, you know, it's staying busy, you know, and staying out there. But a lot of stuff, you know, from Batman, Superman, Superman, Wonder Woman, to some Wolverine covers at Marvel. You know, some upcoming covers. A lot of mixed bag of stuff. You know.
so you'll have quite a few.
Quite a
things
few,
coming
quite a
out.
few. Yeah, a lot of different things I've kind of gotten my hands on at the moment. So.
Okay. Recently announced was a statue that you designed, or you did the
The
artwork
did,
design for it for Superman.
Yeah, that was great. That was a Man of Steel statue. Which is really cool about that is, you know, they can actually fly with a rod that they're suspended off the base. So I got to play with a flying pose and a figure, which was a little bit more complicated than you think because it's got to do with the weight of the statue. So that was a fun thing I got to work on, and the sculpt really came out good. DC Direct the sculptor and DC Direct really did a great job with that.
It looks very cool, and
Yeah, definitely.
and that will be out in previews June issue, I believe, for pre-order for September.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds about right.
Did you have any different thoughts of how you wanted it to look like when you
Well,
finally figured out the last
No,
design?
it came out the way I wanted it to come out. I just didn't really. The trick with those is they wanted different poses for Superman, and what becomes a problem is like he's got these trademark poses. So like with that statue, like there was a little bit back and forth, just making sure we kind of came up with something not like the other ones, and moving and motioning around, you know. So you know, and something that would look good at different angles, so you can have it coming at you or sideways, and, you know, make sure it was a pose that, you know, had a lot of different aspects to it, you know. And a lot of when I did mine, they'd already done quite a few, so like a lot of the classic, you know, basic poses that Superman's known for were already taken, so I had to really kind of think outside the box with a flying and cape motioning action pose. I think mine might be the only action pose they've done yet. So I think most of them are all like standing or flying or crouching, so or landing. So like mine's, you know, it'd be kind of cool if there was another figure that could go the opposite way, so it looks like a battle, but it's actually a fighting, swinging, flying pose. So it's like a mid-swing, mid-punch
Kind of like
pose. Yeah.
kind of like fighting Bizarro in a way.
Yeah,
something like
If
that.
there was a different statue that had kind of like a similar fighting, flying pose, it'd be really nice to put those two together, you know?
That would be something worth saying for
Yeah,
DC.
it would. If they ever do any villains, like I wouldn't mind doing like a Parasite or something that could go
Exactly.
with it, you
Yeah.
know?
And well, I have to admit, your artwork is some of the best I've seen.
Oh, thanks,
And
thanks.
you have a lot of fans out there who couldn't be here today, of course, but you're being well supported with the appreciation that your fans have showed you since
Oh
you
no, I
debuted.
have really great fans. I'm very appreciative of all my fans actually. I do get to travel quite a bit and see fans from all around the world sometimes, from Australia to Italy to especially the United States. But I'm always glad to meet fans I have in different places and stuff. It's always nice to know that when I'm alone and I'm drawing something that it actually goes to other people. And, those. I mean, that, but sometimes you don't know those people. You never see them. They're there, but you don't actually. It's nice to put faces to the
You really
people
don't.
that actually buy the work.
You really don't know how many people that's affected
Yeah, and
by
how
your
far
work.
it goes. Like, your brain, it's there, but you don't actually process it. So
And
so it's
and also with that, a good story, of course, a good writer has to have a good story, but it's nothing without awesome artwork to go with it
yeah,
to complement it.
great writers are always appreciated. I always, try to do the best I can, with the time I have and, with the resources to, deliver the best artwork I can.
And it shows. Again,
Thanks.
it's really great artwork. Uh, were you surprised whenever you found out that Earth One Volume One was a bestseller?
Yeah, I was more surprised that there wasn't enough to sell, that it sold out, because it actually took something like 3 weeks. You couldn't buy one for like 3 weeks. So that actually, I wonder how well it would have sold if enough were made. I think everybody was. That's why it sold out and it was off the shelf for 3 weeks, because people didn't really expect those sales.
I know I had to pre-order, and that's how I was guaranteed my first copy.
Yeah. It's hard to tell those things how they'll sell, because Superman books. They're solid selling books, but they're not all time high selling books. They're usually really good medium sell books. So nobody really ever expects that going in. You always hope, but the reality is usually Batman or something always sells more. Green Lantern usually sells more. There's a big Superman fan base, and a lot of people like Superman, but not all the time does that translate to Superman comic book sales. So.
Exactly. And of course, you have your movies that make it popular
Yeah, you have,
for a while and stuff like
but
that.
usually those people like that. They don't, I think the thing with Superman Earth One is it came across a lot of fans that had never read a Superman book before, which was really what I was aimed to do. I had drawn Superman before, and Superman, Batman, The Search for Kryptonite. So I had drawn quite a bit of the classic Superman, and that was just a Superman. It really didn't even have anything to do with Batman. That was mainly like a Kryptonite Superman story. So, I had basically done like the traditional Superman for a long time. So you come across different fans. Different types of fans with Superman stuff. The traditional, the newer Superman, the movie Superman. You come across all kinds.
Okay. And I guess the last question, again, your statue that has been designed. I've seen and I've been told that it's going to be a limited edition. What was your thoughts on that when you heard that?
I think DC Direct makes everything limited edition. No, I don't. I've had a limited edition Atrocitus bust they did before. So I think pretty much everything's limited edition when it comes to that stuff. I collect some of the Batman black and white statues, so I'm pretty familiar with that and kind of assumed that it was going to be that way going in. So it's pretty cool. Hopefully it'll sell well.
Okay. Well, I thank you for taking the time to do the interview. And one final thing, if you could, give a shout out to everyone at SupermanHomepage.com.
I'd like to say thank you to SupermanHomepage.com, and thank you for your support, and thanks for being great Superman fans.
Thank you. And we hope you have a great time here at the Cape Comic Con.
Yep. Thanks.